We'll never know exactly when it started, but we probably know how. Glued to their television set as they watch their new favorite character, an alien martial artist, take part in battles against opponents capable of destroying planets, solar systems, galaxies, and maybe even the entire universe. One of these days, a question would arise in this person's mind, a question that would linger in the minds of comics, anime, and debating enthusiasts to this day. Hey, what would happen if this Goku guy fought Superman? Now, this question in particular was probably the biggest fictional debate for more than a decade in the 2000s and early 2010s. It made sense. Both of them were not only the most widely known and accepted symbols of their respective genres, at least in the West, battle shonen and superhero comics, but for the most part seemed to be the pinnacle of power of their own worlds. Sure, they had been beaten before and there were characters in their world who they were way weaker than, but for the most part, people didn't really care about those guys, and why would they? It's more fun to talk about the main character anyways, because let me tell you, if you were around when the original Superman vs. Goku death battle came out, it was like a nuclear bomb was set out across certain circles of the internet. But as time has gone on, the Superman part of Superman vs. Goku has slowly become less and less important. Is this because Superman has slowly over time become less of a symbol of comic books than he used to, with the explosive popular of the MCU and the less than stunning reception of recent Superman films? Maybe. I'd argue, though, that as anime, manga, and other international equivalents have become more popular, the need for Superman to be the symbol of strength to challenge Goku has become less and less necessary. Instead now, and I am exaggerating a little bit, it seems like every week or so a new character appears that becomes the new character who will challenge Goku. Goju Satoru, the strongest sorcerer from Jujutsu Kaisen, with his esoteric abilities portrayed him as a near god over everyone else in their own universe, people were quick to ask, does he beat Goku? Or take another example, Rimuru Tempest, from That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, a light novel character with a list of powers long enough to be a book in and of itself. Does he beat Goku? All of these debates, for the most part, have come on with time, none of them truly having the staying power that the original Goku vs. Superman debate had. But there was one debate that was different, that has stayed the test of time. It's this title of the video and the reason you're here. Goku versus Saitama. Now, nearly everyone and their mom has given their opinions on Goku versus Saitama, be that in the form of video essays, those 30-second TikTok edits, fan comics, or fully animated miniseries. And usually I don't like covering topics that others have already talked about en masse, because I don't like stepping on other people's toes and only wanted to contribute brand new ideas and explanations for things. However, an overwhelming number of you wanted me to share my thoughts on this matchup, which tells me that people out there are still looking for an answer that leaves them satisfied. Today I hope to do that. Today we put this debate to rest and talk about why it'll probably never end. Or in other words, let's ask the question, can he beat Goku though? As a kid, Goku is really strong, and I think a lot of us forget that. It's established from the very beginning that Kid Goku can lift cars, survive getting shot by bullets, shatter wood with his kicks, can crush boulders with his bare hands, and even dodge gunfire from close range, even with very little to no major training yet. Unsurprisingly, this Kid Goku is beating Saitama before his training. But give credit where it's due, Saitama, even before he breaks his limits, is definitely not a normal guy. Even early on in his training, Saitama is able to fight wall-level monsters and even manages to save a kid by traveling at over 100 meters a second. Still though, Kid Goku would probably slam without too many issues, especially when we're talking about Kid Goku during the later arcs, during time skip, once his power reaches the upper 100 levels. First time I think Goku and Saitama become really contentious with each other is when Saitama begins to finish his training. In a volume extra story that delves into Saitama's backstory, we see that Saitama is getting so suspicious that he's beginning to lose hair that he turns around so fast that he's able to see the back of his head in the mirror. Ignoring how the physics work here, given how he performs well beyond lightspeed feats later, I don't think it's unreasonable to grant him this lightspeed scaling at this point, as it means he turned around so fast that the waves or photons of light reflecting off the mirror had not changed yet to reflect his new position. Regardless though, this problem here is that this Saitama has no attack potency feats, as we have no idea what he's capable of. Still, this could be that Saitama potentially blitzes all of Dragon Ball, OG Dragon Ball rather, and simply pummel them faster than they can react. Maybe. This all depends on if you believe several potential lightspeed arguments for early Dragon Ball are valid. Both involve Kid Goku reacting to light and lasers. The first is after his fight with Jackie Chun when he dodges a laser fired at him at close range, and the second is a little bit later on when he potentially grabs Roshi's sunglasses before the solar flare can blind him. If you don't think these feats are valid, then Kid Goku should still be massively hypersonic plus tier to relativistic tier, as Master Roshi's attacks as well as the power pole can reach the moon in rapid, albeit unknown timeframes, and weaker characters like Yajirobe could dodge lightning. If you want to go with the latter, then this fight would be much like a normal guy fighting a brick wall. Sure, the brick wall is slower and you can punch it all you like, but the wall's durability is so much higher that you might take damage just trying to hit it. Alright, so let's move on to two more recognizable versions of these characters. Early chapter Saitama versus Goku from the 23rd Budokai. I'm avoiding going over the King Piccolo arc because it can get a little weird because Buff Roshi destroyed the moon and potentially had a power level of the thousands, given how he was stated stronger than Great Ape Kid Goku. However, Roshi later on says that Tien's Kikoho in destructive power is way more than the Kamehameha, meaning that this attack should also be moon level, with Tien being powerless against even King Piccolo's minions and not even attempting the Tri-Beam. I think it's safe to say that Kid Goku is moon level at this point, but it's just a bit weird given how Goku isn't directly called moon level until his fight with Piccolo Jr. Of course, key attacks are stronger than the character's normal attacks in Dragon Ball, sometimes even by a multiplicative amount, but as an overall fighter, this Goku, the one who fights Piccolo Jr. here, should at least be scrapping at moon level. Okay, that was a big section about Goku. So let's talk about Saitama a bit more and the philosophy I personally have about his strength. I personally believe that Saitama has been getting stronger over time, even since the first chapter. While there have been several implications of this throughout the series, namely in the audiobooks that quite literally say the Saitama of yesterday is weaker than the one today, we don't get full confirmation of this in a more directly canonical source until the Saitama vs. Garo fight, when it mentions that the characters have never noticed his strength growth before, meaning that at least at a handful of points Saitama had gotten stronger since going bald. Thus, we will treat each major new feat as a benchmark for that version of Saitama, especially looking out for when he uses serious moves and things of the sort. For pretty much the entirety of the first season of One Punch Man, Saitama is not beating Tenkaichi Goku. His speed feats don't get any better than his retrospective light speed feat, and potentially being over some other characters who later on in the verse have light speed feats and statements. But they could potentially just be faster than Saitama at this time, but I will again say potentially. Still, in the last few chapters before his battle with Boros, Saitama's scaling skyrockets significantly. Firstly, he solidly enters the range of several times light speed, as he casually is able to intercept and block that guy's attacks and are called near light speed. Later on in the same idea of near light speed, it's used to describe how quickly Saitama got launched to the moon by Boros, though Boros being faster than his own henchman is pretty obvious. Speaking of Boros, how strong is he? Ignoring the mistranslation of star level, Boros' maximum power should be multi-continental, as by unleashing all of his energy, he was going to destroy the Earth's surface. Unfortunately for Boros, being able to destroy the moon is significantly more impressive than being able to destroy just the Earth's crust. Ignoring the fact that power levels aren't linear, as they are later on in Dragon Ball, and giving Goku a light benefit of the doubt that he did react to a light-speed laser, then at this point, him and Saitama are actually insanely close in stats, given how we know he was suppressed even when using a serious punch. But by how much, we don't know. But given how he was forced to use a serious punch, it is incredibly unreasonable to say he was using some infinitesimally fractional small level of his own power. So, by the end of OG Dragon Ball, Saitama and Goku are pretty much as close as equals as one can get in Crossverse, both being between 1 to 10 times FTL depending, and being between multi-continental and moon level. This is the closest Goku and Saitama are ever going to get to each other. Here's where the escalation of power in both series takes significantly different paths. Unlike for Dragon Ball, there is a large stint of enemies in One Punch Man whose feats do not surpass Boros. Such is the narrative of the One Punch Man manga. However, in Dragon Ball, each villain through Z seems to surpass the entire tier of the last one. To make the ultimate generalization, by the end of the Saiyan Saga and Namek, most characters at this point are Planet Busters as they scale close to or above Vegeta. At this point, power levels become much more linear, as Kaioken multiplies power levels and stats by the same amount, times 2 power being times 2 power and speed. With this, Frieza in his first form has a power level of 530,000, caused a Dwarf Star level explosion when he destroyed planet Vegeta. You can multiply Goku's Super Saiyan power level off of each of these feats and get slightly different results. One ending with Goku being star level, and one with him being more around large planet to large star level. If you want to use the mistranslation of Boros as somehow valid, this is the general level this version of Saitama would reach, but at this point he would be getting blitzed by the speed difference. Alright, so what's Saitama's next major feat? Oh, right. So let's talk about the giant hole in the sky feat. For those who don't remember, in their final battle, Boros, who had copied Saitama's martial arts, I guess, clashed fists with Saitama and caused a massive outburst of energy that, when redirected, essentially deleted a massive portion of the entire night sky. Depending on how you interpret this, it's at worst multi-solar system level, potentially galaxy or multi-galaxy level, if any of those little specks are faraway galaxies. Saitama then goes on to get even stronger than this, though we don't know by how much. This, of course, would also justify a massively faster than light speed scaling, aka faster than light by a number with lots of zeros after it. I'm not too concerned of the exact massively faster than light level that they are, because ultimately it's not going to matter, but how far does this get Saitama? Well, he's certainly slamming the entire Cell Saga, given how, while there are potential universal arguments for Cell in the anime, there are simply so many statements calling Cell's final attack solar system level for it to be ignored. Okay, so what about Buu Saga? Does Saitama beat Buu Saga Goku? Based on this feat alone, it's actually pretty unclear. There are numerous statements throughout the Buu Saga that the scale of the strongest characters have potentially reached the universal tier. Buu is stated capable of destroying the universe both as Fat Buu, Kid Buu, and Buuhan, and depending on manga and anime, Goku scales to or above all of these forms. The real question becomes the relative time frame Buu could do these feats, but given how it's implied to be very present with Buuhan in the anime, and somewhat present with Kid Buu in the manga, it's not that ridiculous to say. Still, if you want to say that Buu could only destroy the universe over a long time frame, this would still be a tremendous feat, given how the Dragon Ball universe is potentially endless and infinite in size, and that's not mentioning the other realms connected to it that are also of a similar scale. You may say that this is highballing Buu Saga Goku, but I already gave Saitama the benefit of the doubt to say that the points of light included some galaxies. And honestly, there's no reason to go any further at this point. Because after Z comes Super, in which Goku is blatantly capable of erasing multiple universes with the same level of ease that Saitama could destroy potential galaxies. Something in the grand scheme of things that is infinitely smaller. Every other tool or potential feat that Saitama has is just not applicable. I'm not going to mention them all, but I will mention his time traveling feat very briefly here. It was a technique he used and not movement speed. And even if he did use it, he's limited by the fact that when he travels back in time, he fuses with his past self and loses all of his memories. AKA, he's not going back in time and, killing baby Goku or something. Even then, if you were to take back everything I've said, and that at every single step of the way, Goku and Saitama had the exact same speed and strength, Goku would still win if it was equal stats. He has more abilities, can actually fly, and has far, far, far better fighting skills than Saitama probably will ever have, given how part of his character is that he doesn't understand martial arts. This raises the question, why? Why do people compare Goku and Saitama so much? And why do so many people believe that Saitama could win? I don't want to be mean here, but most people who say Saitama wins seem to believe the title of the series is hyper-literal, despite evidence to the contrary. Do I blame these people? No. Most people just want to watch a show and don't look at it with a critical eye. But I do think it's unfortunate, because watching One Punch Man as a show in which he has the ability to kill everyone ever with a single punch is simply not as funny as guy who's at the peak of an anime character's power ends up at the beginning of the series. And that's what makes Saitama such a great parody character, and a fantastic one at that. I think this general hype around Saitama's power also comes from the fact that, simply put, Murata knows how to make scale feel immense. And while Dragon Ball will sometimes have moments of similar large scale between arcs and fights that don't feel that much larger, even in a battle between the supposed strongest warriors in the universe, characters only cause damage to a small town. Meanwhile, Saitama sneezes and Jupiter disappears. Without any context, of course you'd say Saitama is stronger. In the future, what if Saitama battles God and their battle threatens to destroy the whole universe in an ultimate final climactic battle? I guarantee it's going to look a lot more impressive than Goku and Beerus's battle, but at the end of the day, that would still mean he's losing to Resurrection of F Goku. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. This video has been my largest script and biggest editing project I've ever made, and I'm immensely proud of it. If you aren't, please subscribe so I know to keep making videos like this in the future. Aside from that, let me know how I was wrong in the comments down below. But either way, he's not beating Goku. See ya!